I'm Ron Johnson from Rockford, Illinois. This is the 1931 Buhl Bull Pup, a production airplane of which approximately 100 were built back in 1931.
AOPA keeps flying safe, accessible, and fun by protecting your freedom to fly. We are the most trusted one-stop resource for all things related to general aviation. Become an AOPA pilot today.
It was a pile of parts laying on the floor. About 10 years ago, started a restoration, and it's finally been complete. For once in my life, I decided to hire some people to do something. So there's a sheet metal guy that has all the equipment and the skills, so we drilled out all the rivets and reskinned the aluminum fuselage. The wings were in pretty decent shape. I took care of whatever was needed on that to get ready for fabric work. And then I asked a friend of mine if he wants to get involved with the fabric work. He can do the fabric while I do 2 more motorcycles and another vintage race car. I'm 80 years old. I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I've got a lot more behind me than ahead. So I did have somebody do the fabric work and the paint, but I did the engine and all of the other miscellaneous bits and pieces that go involved with restoring it. I had another one that's now up with a guy in California, and they are the only 2 that are flying. There are 2 in museums that could fly, but I don't believe they do. About 18 left out of just shy of 100, probably 10, 12 of them are basket cases that need to be restored. This one has the proper Szekely or Szekely 3-cylinder radial engine. Makes 45 horsepower on a good day if all 3 are cooperating. The airplane is straightforward to fly. It cruises about 75, 80 probably maximum. Stall, I never looked, it's probably about 40. It doesn't really stall, it just kind of sags off and says, I'm done. Landing the airplane is not difficult at all. The excitement occurs with no brakes and a tail skid. On the other one, the thing can get away from you on the ground, not so much flying or landing, but once you're on the ground, the airplane wants to go into the wind. That's what they do. And with a taxi, with the wind on your left, it's almost impossible to turn the airplane to the right because the airplane just goes into the wind. So on this one, I designed a steerable tail skid that's on the back. So it's still no brakes and a tail skid, but it's much more drivable on the ground. The Buhl Company started in 1927 building airplanes, built about 20 biplanes, utility airplanes, and then they're mostly known for the Buhl Air Sedan, which was a fancy sesquiplane biplane, being an airplane that has double the area on the upper wing than it does on the lower wing. Kind of an in-between a biplane and a monoplane. When nobody could afford those airplanes, as the Depression came on, the designer was a fellow by the name of Etienne Dorme. Mr. Dorme had worked for SPAD, S-P-A-D, in World War I. So he was familiar with World War I airplanes. The Brits had the Bristol, the French had the Morane, and the Krauts had the Eindecker, single wing, and they were all shoulder wing, monoplane fighters with a cabane strut for the wires to come down to the wing, and then the wires went to the belly underneath. They had rotary engines and guns. It's got a steel tube structure in the cockpit that the engine's bolted to, but everything else is all aluminum. The wings are typical wood spars and wood ribs. I have about a half-inch pile of thickness, or 3/4 inch, of original Buhl Pup prints for this airplane. So there's a lot of information if you were going to, restore something. And the picture of the panel that's in the books is not the same panel that's in this one. This one came with the pile of projects, but it fit perfectly inside the fuselage. I'm going to use it. So it's fit in there. It has appropriate gauges of the day. Not a lot. You don't need a lot.